Okay, we all ready?
Sorry, I just want to confirm we're not going to hear from Assembly Speaker Robert Rivas on this.
Don't anticipate him at the moment. So thank you everyone for coming. I'm going to be very brief in my remarks. I just want to share what I said on the floor. I don't view today as the win for a particular party. I view this as a win for all of Californians. The work is going to continue as the bill moves forward, but you have a really incredible team here that is devoted and dedicated a lot of time to ensuring we get this thing over the finish line. I want to thank Assembly Members Krell and Patel, obviously, who remain as co-authors on the bill. I want to turn it over to my joint author, Assemblymember Nguyen.
Thank you, Assemblymember Schultz. And again, I'll be very brief. What we saw today is collaboration all across the board in the Assembly, that you saw bipartisan support on this issue, that nobody on this floor is okay with children being sold or bought for sex, and that the Assembly member from Burbank, Schultz, and I are very proud to be able to push this forward, but we wouldn't have been able to do it alone without pulling in different groups to be a part of this. And a big part in getting this together, making sure that this is a stronger bill than its original form, was our very own District Attorney Tien Ho, who helped take a look at this, pull out the details, and told us what we needed to do to make it stronger. So I want to turn it over to our District Attorney Tien Ho for some remarks.
Good morning. So first of all, I want to applaud the Assembly for really passing what I believe to be an efficient and effective piece of legislation to combat human trafficking. I want to recognize, first of all, Assemblymember Maggie Krell. She laid the foundation for human trafficking bill here, and she's also brought the conversation to the forefront. But I also want to particularly recognize and thank the Chair of Public Safety, Assemblymember Nick Schultz, Assemblymember Stephanie Nguyen, and the Speaker and the leadership for really taking a look at this bill. I believe it's effective. As a longtime prosecutor of 25 years, as someone who has personally prosecuted and tried human trafficking cases, serial rapists, child molesters, and murderers, as someone who has right now 180 prosecutors, boots on the ground in the courtroom, I can tell you that this bill will be an effective tool for law enforcement to be able to combat human trafficking. After Assemblymember Nguyen and Schultz became the author of the bill, they did reach out to me and ask for my consultation in regards to some of approaching the bill and how can we craft it. So one of the things that we see in this bill, and I recognize and thank Assemblymember Krell for her efforts, one of the things that we did do in this version of the bill is remove the fine for the victims of human trafficking, and at the same time there were increase in fines for businesses, particular hotels, that are facilitating or turning a blind eye to the scourge of human trafficking. And the other thing that we did was we approached this with a very focused, targeted approach in regards to those individuals who are soliciting, but they are within 3 years of the 16 and 17 years. And I think that that's important as well, so that we really approach it in a nuanced and measured way. And I think that we've done that here, and really all the credit should go to the individuals to my right, to those that started the process, those that continue to work and collaborate and discuss it, and the credit should go to those individuals.
I also want to mention we've been joined by another co-author, Assemblymember Rhodesia Ransom, and I believe we have a survivor with us as well. I'm just going to close in saying, and then we'll be happy to take a few questions. This really is a team effort, and as I said out there, I don't think that any one person should be claiming responsibility for where we're at today. We all 80 of us in that chamber care about solving the crisis of child trafficking and human exploitation, and the work is going to continue. I think that AB 379 sets a great foundation, gives more tools to prosecutors, as our district attorney said, but there is going to be more work to do in the years to come, and for as long as this continues to be a prevalent problem in California, we're going to continue to come back and do more to address the issue.
Assemblyman Schultz, what was the penalties for, say, like hotels and businesses that allow solicitation and trafficking around the area? What was those penalties?
Yeah, offhand, I believe it's a current sliding scale of, I believe, $3,000 to $10,000, and then it bumps it up to $25,000. There have been financial penalties baked into the California Civil Code for years, but the question has really remained who is responsible for enforcing that. When I was on the Burbank City Council, we actually crafted a local ordinance for our local departments to go out and actually police that conduct and actually cite these businesses because the code is silent. So one of the other critical pieces of this new version of 379 is it entrusts the California Attorney General's office with actually enforcing that requirement and levying the fine.
So, Tim, these businesses are just as part of the trade as anybody, as the buyers are. Is that correct?
We definitely see a lot of businesses that are turning a blind eye, from hotels to motels. In fact, we prosecuted here in Sacramento Motel 6 for facilitating human trafficking. And one of the things that we did, and several of the people here were at that precedent, for the first time in the county's history, I started a regional task force to combat human trafficking with federal, state, and local partners. And I know that Assemblymember Krell and Nguyen were both at that. And one of the issues we have are businesses that are facilitating or turning a blind eye, and the provision to go after them, to find them, and you're hitting them where it hurts the most, their pocketbooks. And that is one of the tools here that we're going after those who solicit, who buy, who provide demand for prostitution, as Assemblymember Krell talked about. But we're also then expanding and going after the businesses that facilitate it, but we are doing it in a targeted, focused, measured way.
I know there were references to sort of the drama that got us here, and I think, at least on my end, I think we're going to have to mention that the speaker is not part of this group here, and I just wonder if you have any kind of reaction to leadership sort of staying out of the floor debate, the floor comments, and sort of this whole situation. You being at the spokesperson essentially for this whole issue.
You know, I would say this. The speaker has been nothing but absolutely supportive, working with us behind the scenes, both Assemblymember Nguyen and myself. And I think that his style speaks for itself. He understands that this is a team effort, that this is not about one individual carrying the torch, but it's about getting good policy done. I have been incredibly honored and humbled by the fact that the speaker appointed me as chair of Public Safety Committee. I believe that he trusts my leadership and my judgment and my practical experience. But I also think the fact that he's not here speaks to the fact that he trusts this group of individuals, the incredible breadth of experience that you see with all of the co-authors and with our district attorney. I think he is very much a team player, and he trusts the team to get the job done.
Any discussions with the Senate on how this bill moves? Have you gotten any indication of how they might move?
And not really. I've had a few one-on-one conversations with individual senators, Senator Araguin, the chair of public safety over there, Senator Wiener. I think they were very much looking to see what the Assembly did today. The bill passing out with a 72 vote, that obviously sends a strong statement. And we look forward in the coming weeks, all the co-authors, the district attorney, all the sponsors, and I, looking at what concerns, if any, they have and looking to improve the bill.
Can we hear from Assemblymember Maggie Krell? Can I just
Yeah.
for camera sake purposes?
I'll stand right here.
Hi, just your reaction to the bill's passage and sort of where it's headed. And
I'm really thankful. I'm really thankful for everybody's cooperation, for everyone who voted in favor of it, for the district attorney who was an original sponsor of the bill, just for everyone coming together. I'm grateful.
Can you kind of talk about, I think this is part of the discussion, that there are already pretty stringent laws that prosecutors could use to go after people who try to have sex with kids. Why was the 17-year-old part so important to you, if that's the case?
That part is important because there's a loophole. Federal law makes clear that anyone under 18 who is bought or sold for sex is considered a victim of human trafficking, whether there is a trafficker identified or not. California refers to that law where it defines human trafficking. And so when SB 1414 created this kind of loophole in creating this delineation for minors under 16 and then saying that minors under 18 needed to have a trafficker, to me, that was really unacceptable and alarming because it undermines the whole concept that there's no such thing as a child prostitute, that if you're 17 years old or you're 16 years old and you're in the sex trade, you are a victim. You shouldn't need to have to go find the trafficker in order to prove that case. And from the buyer's standpoint, they shouldn't get to benefit if you can't find the trafficker. the victims often don't self-identify as victims. There's many reasons why it will be difficult to find the trafficker. You might find the trafficker 6 months later, but you should be able to start by targeting the buyer, because that will often lead to the trafficker. So I thought that was a really important thing for us to get right. I'm so glad that we have.
Okay, but SB 1414 aside, even before that, there are rules around contacting kids for sex that could be used to prosecute this. So why is
It
this?
just depends on the circumstances. I know my colleague has talked about contacting a minor for commercials, contacting a minor for sexual purposes. It's a different statute. It can sometimes be used in the online solicitation cases, but this is really dealing with street trafficking situations, and I didn't feel like the law was adequate to protect minors, and that's why I think it's so important that we added that protection in.
The one thing I would add,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Can I address that? And I do want to echo Assemblymember Crow's comments on that. We have a lot of laws, right, across the state of California. But laws are crafted in a way to apply to specific situations. And the moment those situations begin to change, it's very difficult then to prove those cases. It's like trying to, what's the saying, fit a square peg in a round hole, if I'm getting that term right. And that's the problem that we have. And so while we have some other laws, they really apply to other situations. And so we did need a specific law to address this loophole. And what we have here at the end of the day is a demonstration of leadership and a demonstration of collaboration in getting together and having a robust discussion and moving this forward. As I've said before, and I think the members over here will agree, public safety is not about going right or left. It's about moving forward. And we moved forward today in the state of California when it came to public safety and human trafficking. And I have to thank the leadership and the members to my right in terms of pushing it forward.
The other thing I would add just briefly, and Public Safety Committee can provide this information to all of you, over the last few weeks we pulled the data from California DOJ. In 2023, the number of times that Penal Code Section 647, which this bill addresses, the number of times it was used to arrest a person in 2023 statewide was fewer than 10. Whereas the number of times that 288.3 was used, I think, was well over 1,000 times. I think what that speaks to is that as we continue to craft new laws and tougher penalties, we also have a responsibility to educate prosecutors and educate law enforcement about the, I would categorize, pretty wide breadth of tools that they have at their disposal. So it's about passing tougher laws, but it's also about making sure that they're aware of the tools that they have at their disposal. And sometimes you might have an instance where you can charge both 288.3 and Penal Code 647.
Excuse me real quick, folks. I do want to allow members to return to the floor to vote if you need to. You're welcome to return.
Just briefly, also, how did you arrive at the 3-year number?
So even early in the process, Public Safety Committee staff and I always felt that it made a lot of sense to tie it to statutory rape. Because when we deal with these instances of penalizing statutory rape, we often do see folks close in age, and this has been a prior policy commitment for the state of California. With all that said, when Assemblymember Wynn and I took the helm of this, we wanted to get the input of our district attorney, and I'll let him speak for himself, but I think we all agree that it's a policy that has worked and makes a lot of sense and balances some of the concerns you might have heard from members on the floor today.
As a prosecutor who's personally tried human trafficking cases, I can tell you that there should and there is a difference between a 55-year-old man who is soliciting sex from a 16-year-old versus an 18-year-old solicitor doing so from a 16-year-old. And I think the law recognizes it and should recognize it. And that's what was done here in a very nuanced and measured way, but at the same time holding people responsible for soliciting a minor.
We've heard a lot, like, conversations on the floor about how this bill is not perfect, or you'll continue to work with others who have concerns about that. Actually, my question goes to Mr. DA. Would you be okay with that if this bill ends up changing because of the concerns of some members?
You know, what I believe is important is this. We are going to have disagreement in regards to policy, and that is the regular course of discourse in our democracy, and we should always continue to open and have discussions. And I will weigh in regards to any changes that I feel will undermine the law enforcement's ability to effectively combat human trafficking. But I'm always open to discussions, and I think that's the important part of democracy. I mean, as an immigrant and a refugee, I came from a country where you couldn't do that. So when I watch it in play here, I am amazed by it, I'm inspired by it, and I don't criticize it. it's part of the process. So I'm open to having discussions and, having that experience and that expertise, we'll have those discussions. And if we have disagreements, we'll continue to talk and work together.
Thanks, everyone. I do need to get the members back to the floor if they need to. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.